it's me, Dee Teacher. Today, we are going to talk about people in Canada. Oh, these people just want to stay here. First, we're going to talk about Indigenous people in Canada. Later, we'll talk about diversity in Canada. So these are Canada's Indigenous peoples. Again, this is the word Indigenous. We'll say it one more time. Indigenous. Canada's Indigenous people. There are 3 groups in Canada. Number 1, Inuit. Number 2, First Nations. And number 3, Métis. The S is silent. And these people lived in Canada first. That's what Indigenous means. Okay, this is a map of Canada and the United States and Mexico today. But it didn't always look like this. Many, many years ago, this is what Canada and the United States and Mexico looked like. This was before the English and French came to Canada and the United States. The Indigenous people, remember the Inuit, the First Nations, they lived in this area, and the Métis, and they lived here for thousands of years. There used to be many Indigenous people, but now there's less because their land was taken by the English and French. Let's talk about the first group, the Inuit. Inuit. They live in this part of Canada. Do you remember in the landmarks video? This is northern Canada, where it's very, very cold. So they wear jackets and clothes made from animals. And you see all the fur on their jacket? It keeps them nice and warm. This is an igloo. This is made out of snow. And some Inuit people, they make igloos. And if you go inside, it's actually very warm. And they have their own special art. And they speak many different languages, like Inuktitut. I can't speak it, but here is the word stop in English, arrête, which means stop, in French, and here in Inuktitut. So, in this part of Canada. Let's go to the First Nations, number 2. This is the biggest group of the Indigenous people in Canada. And they live all over Canada. There are many First Nation groups, like Algonquin, Mi'kmaq, Ojibwe, and Blackfoot. Algonquin, Mi'kmaq, Ojibwe, and Blackfoot. These are just some groups that are First Nations. They also have many of their own languages, like Cree. This is the Cree language. And you see this? This is another form of art. This is made from a tree, and it is called a totem pole. This is part of their culture. And they have their own special music. Do you want to listen to their music? the drum with the stick, and they're singing with their throat and their mouth, and that is part of their music. This is also the First Nations. This is part of their culture. You see their different clothes, the drum, and what they're wearing on their head. This is part of their culture. Okay, number 3, the Métis. Métis. This is a French word, and it means mixed. This is a picture of a very famous Métis person. But what does Métis mean? It means mixed. So in their family, there are people who are First Nations. Remember the other Indigenous group? And people from Europe. So they mixed and they made the Métis. And they live all over Canada. Also, I thought this was very pretty, but this is the flag for the Métis group, and it's one of the oldest flags in Canada. Now, let's talk about diversity. Do you see all the different people in this picture? They're wearing different clothes, they have different skin color, they have different things on their head. That's the diversity we'll talk about in Canada. What is diversity? Diversity means that there are different people from different countries that live together in Canada. Here is Canada, but people from all over the world have come to live in Canada. For example, my parents. This is my dad, and this is my mom. Do you remember this picture? I showed this in the first video. That's me. And they come from Ethiopia, but then they moved to Canada, and I was born. So, in big cities like Toronto and Vancouver, you can see many places that have restaurants and other cool places from one country. This is Koreatown in Canada. This is a street in Toronto. Can you see the Korean flag? And all the Korean writing? This is another country, Greece. And here they have Greektown with Greek restaurants and a Greek sign because lots of people from Greece come here. Also, this is Little Italy. This is in my city, Ottawa. I used to drive here all the time and see the sign. And I know this sign also. And here are some restaurants from Italy and a church. So all of these things are from Italian culture in Ottawa. Also, this is from my city. I also used to drive here all the time. This is Chinatown. And here is some Chinese writing and Chinese restaurants, and here as well. So lots of people from many countries have come to Canada and have created many places for their culture and that people can enjoy from other cultures. This is the video I have for today, all about people in Canada. We talked about Indigenous people and diversity in Canada. That's all I have for today. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.